Hi, we're Hannah and Greg, and welcome to our tiny house. A house so small you can mistake it for a large closet. You're probably thinking, do they sleep standing up? Is their toilet also their shower? To someone not familiar with the lifestyle, it might seem extreme, but to a tiny house enthusiast, it's a way of life that allows us to cut out unnecessary space, making every inch count. Even if that means doing yoga in the shower. Okay, that is not at all what living in a tiny house looks like. And no, our toilet is also not our shower. And contrary to popular belief, we don't have to do yoga just to get around each other. So in today's video, I'm going to be taking you through what an actual day looks like living in our tiny house. So stick around. You might just be surprised at what tiny living is really about. Let's get into it. It's just after 6 a.m. I'm an early bird, and I love the quiet of the morning. It's my me time. It's the time of day where I know I won't be distracted, where I can focus on some journaling, do a bit of yoga, and sometimes tackle a high-level task that needs my undivided attention. Thankfully, our vacuum that runs every morning at 7 isn't a distraction. Why do we vacuum every day? Well, if you have a corgi, it's pretty much essential. Greg, on the other hand, is more of a wake up when the sun is definitely up kind of guy. We then make our coffee, whoever gets to it first.
I had to put it in there.
That's not...
Delicious.
Yes, you can have a nice coffee setup in a tiny house. Because we use it daily, it just made sense to dedicate a whole corner to our coffee station. While I'm making breakfast, Greg usually reads. If Taylor isn't trying to get her dad's attention,
Salad, Daddy. I promise.
she's either free playing or helping me with breakfast. After breakfast, Greg goes outside, takes care of the plants in the pool. Yes, we do have a pool now that we are temporarily renting a lot space. If laundry needs to be done, I typically do it during this time of day. Of course, if Taylor wants to help, I definitely let her. Our washer is a little bit loud, and the house typically shakes when it's running. We just make sure that we're not running the washer when one of us is on a call. That's definitely not my favorite part of the day. During this part of the day, we dedicate our time to Taylor's structured play. Whether it's working on her activity book, painting, or drawing.
I'm busy painting right now.
We found that spending quality time with her earlier in the day just sets a positive tone for the rest of the day. Living in a tiny house, we've learned to navigate the challenges of balancing work and family time in close quarters. On some days, it's a bit of a juggling act, especially when we need to concentrate on our work and our active daughter is just a few feet away. Maybe that's when we use a bit of yoga to get around each other. To manage this, Greg and I coordinate our schedules all the time. Depending on the demands of the day, one of us spends a little extra time with Taylor, providing the other one with some much needed space to focus. It's a give and take that helps us maintain harmony in our tiny home.
Let's go outside. Yay!
So speaking of extra space, having a really nice outdoor space is really important when you have a tiny house or you live in a small house. Essentially, it adds extra square footage to your entire space. But the best part about our entire outdoor space is, since this is a temporary location, we can actually move everything. That is in our future, is we are currently in the process of buying land for our tiny house, and also we are going to build another smaller house. So typically we come out here around mid-morning. It's just really great just to come out here and enjoy our extra space. A little disclaimer about our space. So when we were traveling full time, our little one right over here, you could fit in a pack and play and fit in the loft. Once we temporarily rented a lot, we actually have access to a spare room, which is where she does sleep at night. We also have access to a garage, this little section of a garage that also functions as our home gym. Now, full disclaimer, everything else you see in that garage is not ours. On some days, we like to break up the day, and about mid-morning, we'll go to the park. Just gives us all a little bit more extra breathing room. I swear these things, as you get older, get a little more sick to my stomach. After we spent time outdoors, Taylor then goes down for a nap or has quiet time. Greg and I then use this time to get our exercise in for the day. After we work out, I'll make protein shakes, and lunch usually consists of leftovers from dinner, or if we have something left from food prep that we usually do on Sundays. It's around 2:30 p.m. Typically, Taylor's still napping, or she doesn't nap, but she's exiting the napping stage. I focus on lower level tasks, communication with our team via Slack, rounding out some projects that perhaps I started in the morning. However, Greg, this time of day is actually his peak performance time. He'll focus on his higher, intense work. At any time, if one of us needs extra space just to do some high-level focus work, one of us will then go to Starbucks and use that as an additional office space, while the other one stays in the tiny house and also gets their own space. Once Taylor wakes up, it's time for her to spend some time with her Mimi. And no, we're not talking about her grandmother. We're still not sure why she calls her tablet that. We just go along with it.
Got it. 2 points.
We are particular about the types of programs that she watches. We aim for high-quality educational content that's both fun and informative. We also set a timer to manage her screen time. Set timer for 1 hour. It's a great tool that helps set expectations for her and keeps us mindful of her digital consumption. But there are some days where we might extend it just a little bit, especially if Greg and I have some extra work left to wrap up for the day. Usually around 5:30 or 6:30, I'll start dinner. It just depends on what I'm making. So I did put the chicken in at 5:30, and now Greg is assisting with dinner.
I'm actually starting to help Hannah with dinner more, but it's because I'm actually using ChatGPT to help me come up with recipe ideas. Cooking's boring, but when I do it with the help of AI, it becomes much more interesting.
I'm wanting to do a side with my roasted chicken. And there it goes. Oh, is the pump on?
Yeah.
So, a little side note, we just added a pool pump to our electricity load, and unfortunately, it trips the breaker because it just draws a lot of energy. So now every single time the pump's running and my oven is preheating, it trips the breaker. It's back on. Back in business.
What are some of the ingredients in the herbs?
I have rosemary, thyme. I want to use Greek yogurt.
Okay, so it also gives me the steps. Okay, let's get peeling. 6 grams. What's that to pounds? Approximately 2 pounds. Okay. Let's turn on the propane. About 15-20 minutes. Scissors down.
A little bit of oregano and some rosemary.
I want to follow the recipe to see how it's going to taste.
Definitely not full potatoes yet.
Just waiting for your potatoes, right?
I'm watching videos on thermodynamics. Totally productive. Do we have a masher, or do we do it with a...
We're going to do the fork because in a tiny house, we have to pick and choose, right? Our utensils. Now, we actually don't have a table in our tiny house where we can eat together. that is something that I do miss. Our table is actually outside, but right now we just can't use it because typically during this time of year, it rains in the late afternoon into the early evening. It's also really hot and there are just way too many mosquitoes out at that time of day.
Something bit me.
So right now we just eat from our couch and Taylor uses the only chair we have in the house. After dinner, Greg usually cleans up the kitchen. Meanwhile, I get started on Taylor's bath. We have our little routine, a song, a story, and off to bed. After that, we head up to the loft to sleep, then start our day over again. So there you have it, a day in the life living in a tiny house. Sure, it has its unique set of challenges, and despite the close quarters, we've found a lot of joy living in our super small intentional space. It's cozy, it's comfortable, it's practical, and it's ours. It's what we call home. So if you're considering the tiny house lifestyle, I hope this video has given you a realistic snapshot of what your day could potentially look like. Thanks again for joining us on this journey. And until next time, we'll see you in the next video.